Hey, this is Ty Brown, the dog trainer with dogbehaviouronline.com, and I'm coming to you with a question from one of our readers. Now, the question says, we have a dog who is mid-sized and has always been well behaved. He's a Border Collie mix. As he has been indoors for more and more time over winter, he's very protective. He starts barking at the doorbell and growls when friends or guests want to pet him. Has even snapped at the brother-in-law after the brother-in-law continued to try to pet him again and again after warning with growls again and again. He turned and snapped and scared all of us. He even trapped our neighbor in his car in the neighbor's car, protecting their home. I was inside their home visiting with his wife. Okay, so I'm gonna give several kind of avenues and several kind of things that you need to be looking at. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is I'm actually going to take you to task here a little bit, because this dog, there's a lot of handling errors happening with this dog. And again, I don't mean to be offensive right now, but I've got to be 100% upfront and straight with you if I'm going to help you solve this problem. Like I say, he's had a lot of what I call handling errors. And what I mean by that is for starters, let's talk about your brother-in-law. What was he thinking? Why would he keep messing with a dog that's growling at him? Did he expect it to end with them being friends? You know, the dog's hating him, hating him, hating him. He's like, I'm going to break through and this dog's going to eventually love me. You know, of course, that's a ridiculous assumption. And so the fact that he just kept going and snapped should be a surprise to nobody. I mean, the dog was telling him over and over. If the dog could speak English, he'd say, dude, leave me alone, I'm going to get you, leave me alone. And he kept saying it, and he kept saying it, and the guy didn't listen, so finally the dog snapped. And so like I say, there should be no surprise there. But that's a huge handling error. When it comes down to it, I'm also going to take you to task on this. Outside, your brother-in-law obviously, you know, needs a swift kick in the pants, but I'm going to take you to task as well, simply because this is your dog. You need to be controlling how other people interact with your dogs. You know, for example, I'm plenty fine if we're at home, if we're at the park, if we're in public, that people want to interact with my dogs, but they will only do it on my terms. Now, the reason being is most people I meet are not good with dogs. They don't understand dogs. They don't understand how dogs communicate. And so if they start trying to communicate with them like, you know, furry little people, we're going to have a big problem. And even really well-trained dogs will do stupid things, you know, if they're put in a situation that is, you know, makes them scared or makes them nervous. Now, your dog, I'm going to talk about this in a second. There's obviously some more training that's needed. But like I say, even a really well-trained or even a really well-balanced dog can do something stupid when they're put into, you know, when their back's against the wall, you know, which is essentially what your brother-in-law was doing here. And so, like I say, you need to be taking control of how people interact with your dog. You should have been stepping in far before it ever turned into a bite. Say, hey, leave the dog alone. Put the dog in the bedroom if you have to. You know, I've even done that on certain occasions. I trust my dogs, but there's been occasions where there's been kids over that are hitting the dogs. And you know, my dogs didn't bite them or didn't do anything wrong, but I also know that if we leave this situation going, even though my dogs are well trained, they could do something really stupid. And so, you know, the kid was going home soon, so we just put the dogs in the bedroom and forgot about it. And so, like I say, you need to be controlling that environment around your dog. If you don't, your dog's going to start taking his own form of justice, and that's what he did. So that's handling error number one. Handling error number two is, I don't know the layout of your yard, your friend's yard, your neighbor's yard, or whatever, but it sounds like you left the dog just loose in the front yard while you were inside the house. And so in comes the husband driving in his car, and the dog is there, you know, and traps him in the car. That should never happen. No dog, no matter how friendly, no matter how well trained, should ever be left loose in a situation where other people are going to be coming in. If you've got an unfenced yard, your dog should never be loose. A dog should never be loose in the front yard. Now, if you're out there and you've got voice control, that's great. But if you're not around that dog, the dog should never, ever, ever be in a situation like that. And so again, that's another handling error. And so those are two handling errors, which makes me wonder if there's more handling errors that are occurring with this dog, which are leading to these aggressive scenarios. You've got to be thinking in terms of what does your dog need, and stop thinking in terms of like I say, this dog needs more supervision. This dog needs more care. So think about that. Second thing I want to talk about is, you mentioned with winter, he's indoors more and more, and he's becoming protective. So that right there tells you that, you know, when that variable changed, you know, meaning he's indoors more, getting less exercise, when that variable changed, it causes more, you know, pent-up energy within him to manifest itself in the form of aggression. And so you need to be working on getting that energy out, you know, and so generally speaking, I always tell people you can exhaust a dog quicker through the mind than you can through the body. And so what I mean by that is take this dog on a focused walk. Focused walk is where he's right by your side. You know, he's not up ahead of you an inch. He's right by your side, and he's on that focused walk, 30 minutes to an hour at least, if not more. But keep him on that focused walk because what that does is really works out the brain. And, of course, play fetch and do training throughout the day. Do what I call integration training. Integration training is, okay, we're going to eat dinner. You're going to lie down and stay for 20 minutes. We're going to walk out the door. You're going to wait for 5 seconds. You're going to eat dinner, or I'm going to give you your dinner. Here, you're going to sit first. And so we're constantly giving the dog obedience tasks and following through to make sure he does them. But we're constantly doing that throughout the day, so what we end up with is a dog that's got a job. He's working throughout the day, which keeps his mind active, keeps him more calm, and keeps some of that, gets some of that energy out of him without, you know, you having to spend 3 hours, you know, playing fetch or something like that. And so anyways, that's step number 2. First step, we got some handling errors. Second step, we've got to, you know, get this dog as fulfilled as we can. And third step here is, well, back to that second step, you might try treadmill training. Treadmill training is a great way to get some of that energy out too, if you have a treadmill. Third step here is you need better obedience overall. You mentioned he's always been well behaved. I'm guessing he's not well behaved enough. What I mean by that is, you know, we need to give this dog alternatives. We need to give this dog things that he can do when he feels stressed. Now, in almost all cases that I work with, the simplest, easiest, the most effective way to do that is to have the dog go sit and lie down in a corner. You know, so he's still with the family, but he's in a calm, he's in a structured state because he's just lying down. And so that might be he's lying down on a bed for an hour or two, you know, while guests are milling about. It might be he's just doing a down stay for an hour or two while guests are milling about. But we've got to work on some great obedience so that you can solve these problems. So you mentioned he's got issues at the doorbell. Well, guess what? If he just lies down and stays, you don't have issues at the doorbell. You've got issues when people come over. Guess what? If he lies down and stays and you can work with them so that they're not getting in his space and bugging him, we no longer have those issues either. So obedience is kind of the foundation for solving a lot of these problems because it gives you things that you can do and it gives strategies for him on, hey, buddy, I know you're feeling stressed. Here's how you can feel comfortable. Go over there. No one's going to bug you. And sure enough, he starts to realize, hey, every time people come over, I just go lay down and nothing bad happens. And we recondition him on how to feel about people coming over to his house. Right now, it stresses him the heck out. We've got to start showing him it's not a big deal. People come over and it's okay. Nothing bad nothing bad happens. You just lie down, you relax, and then eventually they go home. And so he needs a bunch of that before we can start letting him just mill about with the family. Because it sounds like that's what happened before when he went after your brother-in-law. He was just milling about, and your brother-in-law was poking the bear all day long, you know, playing with the hornet's nest for some reason. And eventually it just blew up. And so anyways, as a recap here, number 1, work on your handling mistakes here so that you're not putting him in situations that are just stacked against him. Leaving him loose in a yard, you know, where cars are driving in or whatever, that's a situation stacked against him. You know, letting people screw with him, that's a situation that's stacked against him. You've got to work on those handling errors. Number 2, get him out and about, you know, start getting him more fulfilled. And number 3, work on obedience so that you've got strategies to solve this problem. So I hope that gives you some ideas and some areas to go, and time to get to work.